afternoon, everybody. Just a question, how do you like the event? Okay, couple of likes, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for coming here. Just to quickly briefly introduce the topic, I'm from the vendor side here, which is not a secret. There will be a couple of slides somehow promoting the vendor solution in the background, but this is pretty polite way. I hope that you will find it also that way. The trick is how to make, without using commercial tool, how to make your performance management, application performance management, smart, easy, and pretty efficient. So that's the topic for me. I thought initially that I will have 1 hour. This is 45 minutes. Couple of challenges. I see that the majority of the audience is about guys here. So who likes the fast cars? Me too, personally. That's why I'm using that slide. Yeah. Then that's the discussion about the performance. So about the expectations at the beginning, and then expectations at the end. Yeah. So I also like it, but I do like to deliver. As the vendor, as the consultant. By DNA, I'm the performance engineer. To keep the things simple, I'm performance engineer. I would also wish to deliver. So we had first failed delivery during that presentation, and then just to introduce me quickly, I thought that I will tell just a few things about me during the introduction. It's about me, the 97 flights over the year, the amount of kilometers, and I wanted to show you the map, but the Lufthansa services, after half of the hour during the day, it was not able to draw me the map. So I decided, okay, I will skip that one. Almost 2 things about me. I'm 10 years involved on daily basis in performance management at small customers, big customers, and the goal for me is to show you 73 slides during 60 minutes. You know now that it's 45, so it's even more challenging. Yeah, I hope I will not fail. Yeah, so that's my promise. So why the performance is important? Quickly, with a couple of slides. Nobody wants to have that situation. Who've been ever facing that one? Okay. Later on, I will ask you what is the profile of the audience here. Just like performance engineers, who is developing, who is testing something, as long as that's the case. Yeah. So if you are working for the competition, you will all the time have a fun if you're competitive, for example, company phase. But why this is not funny? Because it tends to lead to these topics like a war room. Yeah? And the funny story with that picture is that we are traveling worldwide across the conferences, meeting the customers, and then to illustrate the war room, we've been searching at Google for a picture, and a colleague of mine was presenting some similar story, in San Francisco, and he used that slide. And you know what? The one guy, later on we realized that the real war room from Facebook, December 2012, one guy from that picture was participating in that conference telling, hey, it was me there, and this was not fun. Yeah? Why? Because this is a serious problem. Yeah, if not for you, then somebody from the high-level management, from the C-level, from the board, they will be definitely affected just because of that one. Yeah, from the pretty high-level perspective. Not to scare you with big numbers, millions of dollars of loss of budget, something. How do you feel about that? And this is also a good moment to ask, what is the profile of the audience here? How many of developers, let's more, we have here? And then the testers. This is the session for testers, so why we don't have a testers here anyway? And the architects. Okay, well, so as developers, how do you feel, how do you like that one? I've been also developing a code in the past, so for me, the quality assurance was just like a nasty thing, so I've been never doing that one. So you can be like a hero. Yeah, that's one hero, and this is another hero. And what these two guys have in common that, yeah, they don't always test. But if they do it in production. The thing is that there are a couple of companies, the serious story, there are a couple of companies worldwide. We name those companies as the unicorn. And for example, it's about Facebook, it's about Twitter, and a couple of bigger names from US. They can afford, really, they can afford to test the applications in the production. There is nothing like the test environment. So it means that they are at that high level of maturity or managing the quality that if they are releasing, you know, some new feature, new function, they are able to release that function to 1% of the users, and they can test it easily. And if everything is running smoothly, they are then, you know, publishing that one to all. That's the approach. However, a story about, you know, the quality assurance and then the performance management is like, hey, here are my expectations. That's the way I have to deliver, you know, almost. And I hope that there are a couple of lessons learned you will take out from that session, which will help you to deliver in pretty safe way. The last number for today, probably no more marketing things. That's exactly what we do see as the vendors, you know. It's about us as the Dynatrace, it's about Forrester, it's about, you know, Gartner, IDC, you know. That's the rough measure is that 40% of developers' time is weighted in triage. The triage is just like fixing the problems. That's what we do name as the triage. Less, more. Who agree with that one? How many of you agree with that one? Is it more or less? Or you do not really care? I know. Yeah, this is the previous slide. Okay. That's the one thing. But the serious case is that 63 of the companies, they spent more than 20% of the budgets on the regular maintenance, also fixing the problems. And this is not the fun. Okay, so it was about the bet. What is the positive in that story? The positive that the classical Pareto, we do see that 80% of all the issues is caused by less more 20% of classes of the problem. So there are, you know, some particular problems which are somehow causing, you know, 80% of overall issues in the application. Which means that, yeah, controlling that part, or even, you know, the half of that part, you can improve application performance like a hell. That's the story. That's exactly where I would like to go with you on today. You know, the performance management could be easy, could be simple. You can avoid the frustration, you know, the missed expectations, something like that. Okay. So who knows about that stat? How many web developers we have here in that room? Have you ever? Do you know what Steve Salders does? Do you know the guy? Who knows the guy? This is, for me, it's #1 expert worldwide, really, who really knows how to take care about the performance management. It's ex-CTO of Yahoo, ex-CTO, as far as I know, ex-CTO of Google. Now he works, unfortunately, for my competition, but anyway, I have a lot of respect to that guy. And he, a couple of years later on, he's been running a couple of measure studies, and he stated, hey, you know, if you will have a look on the performance issues or the distribution time of your end-to-end processes, for example, applications, that's overall distribution. So only 20% is related to the backend, 80% is related to the frontend. If you want to speed up the app, that's the focus. That's what he stated. And we as the vendor, we are telling, that's right. However, if the traffic is growing and then you have more and more transactions, you will have that 80 here, but the backend will be also growing. Which means that managing the performance could be, yeah, from the one perspective simple, and then from the another challenging. Why? Because you have to take care about both, the front end plus the back end. And this is almost the story for today. 5 cases. Some of them are shared by my colleagues. Some of them are the cases I collected personally. Even one of these cases is from a previous leak from my customer. Yeah. Just to challenge you and not to make this presentation boring, I will show you 3 pictures almost all the time for those 5 cases. What these 3 pictures have in common. That's #1, #2, Number 3. Who will answer? Then I will give you an extra prize, let's say that way. Yo-yos, the corporate. Well, that's the case. Yeah, pushing with no plan, with no idea. And we had 3 cases to share with you on today. Number 1, before I will go to the details, who knows that stuff? Do you know what's that one? Come on, it's about you during the day. And I was thinking, yeah, I have some stories to tell. Some of them are coming from the US, and everybody is, using a Facebook, a Twitter to show the social life, how social are we. And I was just going across the corridor, and then I have just seen that one. Hey, you're tweeting like a hell. Well, maybe not like a hell, 5 tweets per hour, but still. Means that we as the generation, we want to be social. And then another company in the US, who is familiar with American Super Bowl? Who knows about the event? It's the biggest sport event worldwide. Just to tell you why it is the biggest, for example, if you want to promote your products, like an automotive company, you know what is the cost of 90 seconds advertisement in dollars during that event? It's just like 12 millions of dollars. That's more, that's the cost. So it is also showing you the scale. And then, not from this year, but from a previous one. This is a real case from the previous year. Some ad company who was in duty to manage, all this marketing stuff, the web pages. And they decided, hey, we want to show how the people are social. So guys were coming, on the stadium, making the selfie, and then they've been publishing by using a mobile device, whatever. They've been publishing like a selfie, and then expectation was that these pictures in real time will be streamed just to present, on the mobile devices web pages. Yeah, but for that one, you have to have mobile strategy. They didn't have that one, so what happened? The landing page was as heavy as 20 megs, sorry. That's number 1, so it was not fully optimized. Number 2 was that this is the amount of static content which was all the time deployed. And then imagine that you are traveling, there is a roaming service, you're just landing on the landing page of that Super Bowl event, how fast or slow it is. It was horrible. Number 1, not fully optimized with pretty bad user experience. Number 2, who ever heard about Obamacare issue? How many of you? Okay. So, the current president of the US, the promise of him was that he will simplify the private insurance, let's say, in the US a couple of years ago. And then a huge of money spent. He decided, well, we'll have one entry point for all the American citizens, so on a monthly basis, people can go there and then buy the insurance they want. It's a fully private business, well, fully private sector, let's say, in the US. We've been, as the vendor, we've been observing how they are doing, how they are struggling, just to collect, such pictures, to share those pictures with you later on during, the such kind of events. And what we realized after some improvement, what we realized was, to make it that way. The page was also not optimized. The huge amount of documents with, the comments, something like that. Huge amount of JS, CSS, not combined. Sprite was not being used, something like that. Another thing, why I'm just telling about it, because at the moment of launching that service to the production mode, it fully crashed. And then people in the US, they couldn't go there just to buy the social insurance. And this was seriously affecting their lives. Number 2 from the US, number 3 is from Europe. FIFA, a funny story is that also slow one, just to show that we are, as the European, we are also, the experts, let's say, in the performance management. The heaviest element on the main page was favicon. This is crazy. This is crazy. Then somebody decided to get rid of this 404 problem, huge logo, high resolution, done. Crazy. The lessons learned from that case are following. Just to jump over that one quickly. Do not go without sanity checks, and then it should be almost the same tools for developers and testers. Raise your hand. Those who are using a YSlow or PageSpeed, the page speed, Google page speed, or YSlow of Yahoo. How many of you are familiar with that one? Who is using that one on a daily basis? I'm not developing, but I'm using that one on a daily basis. Costs you nothing, and you will have all the imagination of what happens in the background of the browser, you know, just to avoid the cases like you have seen. This is simple. Means that if such things happens, that we are probably a bit too lazy, or we are superhero like, you know, James Bond, or, you know, the Hannibal Lecter, or you think that you are a superhero. Yeah. Metrics. If you don't want to go with that measures on daily, well, the measures, these practices on daily basis, just be lazy enough to collect those 4 metrics from your regular load test, the unit test or something like that. And simple. Have it, chart it, trace it, see a trend release by release, build by build. Done. Another thing. Number 1. Number 2. And then number 3. 10 seconds. Come on. There is a prize for you. Yeah, this is the case. As simple as that one. Yeah, this is the case. A lot of problems happens really, you know, sometimes as easy as yeah, just like bad framework, the wrong login or something like that. But thing is that not every architect makes good or right decisions. And then a couple of things like online room reservation system. I will not tell you the name, but this is the oil company, big oil company from the UK, and then you can connect, you know, the things. Booking the room reservation, the system was initially written by some student who left the company, and then the code was inherited, something like that. So, well, application was growing, you know, the system was growing year by year, and then they've been struggling like a hell with the performance issues, and these are the symptoms. The load time of the page was as slow as 2 seconds, and then they have seen a huge garbage collector time, huge. So the assumption was, well, wrong configuration of the garbage collector, and then also probably a pretty bad performance of the database, as the rendering part of that application is pretty simple. That's exactly what they did. A couple of months of fighting, and guys decided, yeah, okay, let's check it. They decided to implement the custom, let's say, homegrown logger, as simple as that one. Yeah, just to calculate the response time, the result, and database result. Yeah, so that's the case. Yeah, it was just like a developer or tester or guys from the application versus the guy from database side. Yes, the same topic presented from different angles. And that's exactly how it was. Yeah. So thing is that that's the commercial stuff, but I will not tell you about the commercial tool. Is there any Sybase developer here in the room, by the way? No. Database developer? Okay, so let's jump quickly. They contacted us, the guy from database contacted us, and then we said, hey, we have a free of charge tool. You know, for that use case, this is a free of charge. Install, send us a session, and we will analyze the session. And this is the part of the session we have analyzed. So the case you have seen, time being spent in the production, that well, part of the circle shows a problem with the memory. Yeah, behind of that one, it's a garbage collector issue, plus amount of calls. Yeah, the slow invocation on the browser. It was somehow, because it was asynchronous invocation, somehow fast amount of SQL statements. And that's later on what we have realized. So what you have seen till now, pretty slow execution at the application component. And from database perspective, that's what guys from DB were telling. Hey, we are below of 1 millisecond by an average. Come on, we are super fast. So what we did, we combined this data together. And first of all, we discovered classical n+1 problem. Who is aware of that problem? Yeah, you know it. So if you are working with OR mappers, then yeah, configuring the Hibernate, and it's pretty simple. So this is also similar. What else? amount of individual connections. This is related only to Sybase. Sybase tends to work in different way, just to set up a security context on the operation on the top. That's why you have seen that huge amount of the SQL statements pretty fast related with that one operation. So that's the one. Another one was, and why that happened? Yes, because that student in the past, he decided, okay, to load all the data from database, all the information about available books to Hashtable. And then we see this invocation, something like that. So that's the invocation. And then lessons learned, yeah, how to avoid it. First of all, know what the code is doing, challenge your developer all the time. Yeah, there are no testers, so be aware, guys, from development, that I will tell this story all the time. Sooner or later, guys who are in duty to test the code, they will come to you also to challenge you on that aspect. Don't use the hash table. Well, kind of the obvious stuff. Yeah. What else? Just try to use the tools like Dynatrace, which is for some particular use cases available for free. It could be Araxid, it could be my competition. In the APM space, it's pretty simple just to Google to see what are the alternatives. These are also, some recommendations. But the last but not least, measure number 1, measure number 2, and then before I will go to that point, how do you think that pool consumption or connection pool utilization as the measure, how do you think it is important to control the performance or the right tuning of the application? How many of you is working with connection pool consumption measure? Do you know what the connection pool consumption is? Yes, probably. This is obvious, right? Right. So instead of that one, I would really recommend to work with that one, because this is pretty nice, pretty tricky, pretty unique, simple to collect, and I see that there is no worldwide practice to work with that metric. Why this is important? Because that's exactly the metric, the value, the time component, which is on the top of every single statement execution. It is telling how long the application waits till getting an access to the connection pool. It's available in the code. And then it tells you also, by the way, it tells you also how efficient connection pool is. The size is not important. This is important data, okay? So I would recommend that one. What else? By the way, I decided to add these 2 slides on yesterday evening. I've been telling you about that homegrown logger which was being added. And I do see a logging problem as one of those 80-20, that's one of the mostly affecting the application performance. Even happens for big vendors. Just have a look how it works. One service log exists for all the Java virtual machines. And by design, all the loggers, login frameworks, with exception, of course, of Kafka, these new modern things which are appearing on the market, but the assumption is that to have efficient login and somehow safe login, the logger had to work in kind of synchronized block. It is a part of the code which is being executed into the synchronized block. That's the case, which means that if you have a huge amount of data, huge amount of exceptions being thrown to that log file, something like that, that's probably the bottleneck you will have. Pretty simple, the overall time from end to end, all the methods, the stack traces. Hey, just check. That's the business logic. That's the logger. Come on. Yeah. So the bottom line is that also 3 more metrics: time spent in sync and log API, amount of log messages versus amount of exceptions. Done. And you will have a control of what's going wrong with the application in the production mode. Yeah. Do you know the guy? Is there anybody from Poland here? I'm from Poland, so. It's a new president, This is somehow the political scene, let's say that way, being politically correct. The political scene in Poland, it's being a change since, let's say, October last year. So we had the Liberal Party, and then the right wing came, and they are somehow controversial. And I do see this guy as the controversial one. Another? and another. Do you know what's that, by the way? SpaceX. Do you know what they are doing? Yes. They are just designing the rocket which will be able to land and then, just to save them money. What do these three pictures have in common? What do you think? Again? Oh, yeah, we know it. There is some hidden logic. That's the thing. Deployment gone bad. Yeah, so we have seen three cases. What means deployment wrong bad? Couple of stories. Test environment, it's what we have seen. Just don't be somehow focused on the data you see, because as I said, it's the solution. I'm just using a screenshot just to illustrate the stories, just to show you the differences, The bottom line is that later on I will show you also the metrics which are worth to implement. So guys been testing, performing a load test, distribution of the time across the components, amount of SQL statements, for example, from one component to the database, something like that. Yeah, so almost the time components here. And then they've been pushed to deploy the application in the production. And that's exactly what they have seen. 8 times slower response time, 3 more SQL statements. It's almost the same, use cases being tested. Yeah, same sort of the load. So, what was the case there? Yeah, if you will have a look on performance or profile of the performance of that app, how it should be in case of web-based application. The most of the time should be spent on that I/O, the web request, which is the front end talking to the client, somehow sitting in the network. So the I/O is normally, this is the biggest time component. This is the normal, and that's something which we should expect. Yeah, kind of the baseline we should reach finally. And that's exactly how it was in that code. So as you see, the I/O of the web request is not even there. It's somehow, maybe number 20 or something like that. So what they realized that the API which is consuming like a hell is first of all related to database. The class loading is somehow also typical plus XML processing. And question, what went wrong? First of all, if you will have kind of the snapshot of the data, that's the details you might see. So they've been doing a drill down. You know what is the reverse call tree or reverse stack trace? Have you ever worked with that one? It is showing you a different perspective of the stack trace. So imagine that you have a couple of hundred of thousands of stack traces. You can calculate them all together just to show on the top a method which is consuming which is the most frequently used and then consuming the highest amount of time. And then somehow as the leaf of the tree, you might see the entry point. So who is calling, at the beginning and why the time is consuming. So what guys did, they quickly realized that, hey, it is our Hibernate field interception helper. And they quickly realized that, hey, in the production, we decided to go with latest version of the Hibernate, the one which was not being tested. And there was well-known problem in the Hibernate. Well-known problem in the Hibernate, not tested, but framework using the production. That's exactly how the impact was. That's why I'm telling you, well, do know what you are testing. Yeah, that's number one. Plus, number two was the parser of the XML, Xalan, except of or instead of Xerces, Couple of differences, lessons learned. Yeah, some obvious stuff. I will skip that one. This is the lesson learned. Time spent across the API. How was the web server API? How was the Hibernate, for example? How was the logger, something like that? Do track across those APIs. And then you will exactly know where deeply in the architecture of my application problems started to happen and when. Okay, simple. 3 more pictures. 1, 2, and 3. This is simple, Yes. Yeah. That's the one for you. Okay. Incorrect sizing of the pools and the queues. This is the tricky one. Yeah, because that problem, or maybe the end user problem somehow here, is caused because of two issues. First of all, amount of SQL statements plus somehow, let's make it that way, time being spent on the IIS. So if you are somehow controlling the time components of your services within the transaction, less more you will know what's going wrong. But if you will have a chance to go deeper, this is the data what you should see. Okay. End-to-end response time. Thread name on the IIS. As you see, the thread number 32 was in waited state in 87 seconds to pass the control to the .NET module. Simple, simple. But first of all, you have to have visibility, right? That's the case. And what else? Amount of SQL statements, but this is exactly how we do see it. You know, every SQL statement executed in its own connection means that no prepare statement, or it was probably the wrong configuration of the connection pool. Kind of simple stuff. Yeah, no preparation. Let me skip that one. Okay, these are the lessons learned. Yeah, do take care about amount of workers. Probably you are controlling them because this is very obvious. Versus lessons learned even from the previous slide. Yes, how my connection pool behaves. Amount of statements, same statements across the transaction. Time being spent on connection acquisition time. This is pretty nice measure. The connection acquisition time. Pretty simple. Okay. Idle versus busy, that's the one which relates to the IIS module. And yeah, the last. This is the only one. Do know what you test. Why I'm telling you about that story? I've been last week, really, I've been at customer trying to sell that stuff, by the way. Yeah, so what? I've been, and then so what? What means that you know what you test? It means that you should at least have an understanding the context of what you are doing. I tend to keep my presentation somehow interactive with the audience. And this is a challenge I give almost to everybody. I will keep that string as it is here for, yeah, 10 seconds, 20, half a minute, and who will learn and then is able to repeat that one out of the brain, $100 on the table. Yeah, really, come on. Let's make it fun. You can split, you know, you can work in the sprints, you know, the agile groups, whatever. Okay, but do we know what's here? No. And that's why I'm trying to show you that stuff. You know, this is the same string, you know, same characters all the time. But the first one is randomized. This is fully randomized data. That's the context. Yeah. So even if you will have a look on this set of the problems, but you will know what the context is about, you will immediately know why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, this is the case. This is the story. And why? Case from Bank A in Poland. The name is not important. I've been even forced to, you see, it's just sensitive data is being removed. So you will never know what API is behind of it, not the package name, something. What is the project? This is new generation CRM. I have never seen such a nice mix of technologies being used at whatever customer. It's just like the Angular on the top, new generation cache, which is Coherence of Oracle. All in all, I will not tell you what is the overall budget of that project. It is huge, but the cost of new generation cache it's my private estimation, but I think it's easily above $5 million. Why they decided to go that way? Because kind of, yeah, Oracle promises that if you will implement that one properly, a data from that cache is being served to the application component roughly within 10 milliseconds. That's the expectation. And that's how it works in case of London Stock Exchange, some gambling companies worldwide. Yeah, but first of all, you have to know what you do and then how you do. And that's exactly how it was at that customer, you know. Yeah, the promise at the beginning, you know, failed to deliver. This is continuation of that story. Failed to deliver. The promise at the beginning and then, yeah, crash. Huge difference. But luckily we've been there, you know, with the POC, and yeah, they have seen the data, but this is the story. Once you will see the stack trace of that coherence operations or the method by method things, it's somehow easy to get the information about the method arguments. This is some default configuration of the filter. By the way, who knows how the Oracle data grid or coherence, how it works? Less more, right? Then the MapReduce. Do you know what the MapReduce is doing? It's kind of also, you know, just like filtering at the end, then reducing. So you should filter out the biggest, that's the idea. You would need to filter out the biggest amount of the information at the beginning, not at the end. Yeah, that's the idea. That's how they are optimizing. Without that information, they've been really blind to see what's going wrong. Bottom line is that once we presented this information to them, meaning that they knew what they are testing, they really reduced that time from 7 seconds down to 40 milliseconds. So it's simple. You know, first of all, you have to know what you are doing, and this is the bottom line. Yeah, I'm not saying that this is simple. I know that it's pretty difficult case, but you, architects and then testers, 3 of you seated together, working about the risks, specific things for particular framework, and then trace unique invocations, even if you need to capture parameters of that method. You know, there are super nice solutions in the market like Splunk, like, you know, Elastic with Kibana, whatever. Just have a control of what you are doing. If you cannot afford on commercial tool, do it that way. It's somehow simple, really. It costs you nothing, but then you can deliver accordingly to the expectations. That's almost the idea. So another 2 uniques, you know, the response time plus number of unique invocations, even if it requires to trace the argument values for some sensitive, I mean the performance sensitive data. Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, just kind of the reminder, you know, grab something. I've been asked to share that presentation. If you like some ideas, you can just copy, you can contact us. Yeah. What else? We are on the 4th floor. If you want to play with us, to make a bet that you know what's your company performance, even just go directly to that page and then do your bet. If you are a winner, we'll give you a drone. You know, the number 1, the person who is having the best perception of the performance of the web page, particular web page, will be winning a drone. Is it the Vlad? Is it on today? It's tomorrow, right? That's the one. Yeah, just like a promotion, sorry. But thing is that almost all of those stories, if you want to see detail by detail, explanation, what we did, you know, how you went to those findings, to the assumptions, just visit our blog. Done. Costs you nothing. What else? If you think that data is nice, go to Google, search for Dynatrace, free edition, whatever, download that one. On weekly basis, for free, we are waiting for you under that link. You can share your data with us, same way as those guys have been doing from these companies. We'll help you to analyze and tell you, that's the bottleneck. As simple as that one. What else? I will skip that one. Yeah. Thank you very much for your attention. I have heard that there is a nice event planned for the evening, as far as I know, right? There is some social. Enjoy a lot, but don't fail to deliver on tomorrow. Okay? Thank you. Questions? Questions, yes.
Anybody? Questions?
Thank you very much.